Some say the zeros are still going. Hey, what's up guys? My name is Cherno and welcome to episode 26 of Network Chat Programming. So today we're going to cover one of the vulnerabilities that I talked about last time, and that was the fact that occasionally, things wouldn't really work according to plan, okay? So in other words, if we start up our server here, using a server main of course, if we start that up, start that puppy up, and we go ahead and, actually, you know what, before I do that, let's just get rid of this in the manage here. Whoops, come on. In manage clients over here, we'll get rid of this system.out.println clients.size. Clear that console there as well. And we'll start our server main real quick. Started great. We'll start login real quick as well. And what we'll do is we'll log in on localhost 8192, log in, and then you can see we've logged in here. But what happens is if we prefix something with a /m/ and then we go send whatever, you can see it's not going to work. Okay, and the reason it's not going to work is because /m/ is kind of a big deal to us. It's kind of the character. It's kind of the well, okay, I'll go over what actually happens. If we go into server, just so you guys can understand, I guess that is the whole point of this series anyway. What happens is when we look at this, right? When we look at the string starts with M, right? What happens is in the send to all, we oh well, okay, looks like it's a client thing. But if we go into client, so what happens is again, we send the entire message. We actually don't even modify what the message is. So in other words, what we've gone is our current message, right, was /m/, and then of course another /m/ because we put a /m/ and then the actual program puts another /m/ here, right? So what happens is we've got two now, and we say something like hey, and then what happens is of course it postfixes an e here as well in between forward slashes. This is now sent to the client, okay? And once the client gets that, what the client does is in the receive, let's see, so we return the message. So wherever we do that, before we print it to the console essentially, that's what client window does. So let's find the receive in here real quick. Whoops, I spelled that wrong. Receive. Okay, so clients.receive. So if message starts with M, what we do here is we get the message, which is that, and we go ahead and we split it using the using the M or the E expression here, right? So what that does is it gets rid of that and gets rid of this. But what happens is you can see we select the first index. So what it does is because it clears that and it clears that, it actually selects the space in between the two M's, right? Because they're both rejects. And what happens is, well, what happens essentially is, right, everything here is marked 0, everything here is marked 1, everything here, which is this entire hey thing, is marked 2, and then everything here is marked index 3 in that array, okay? So what happens is now, instead of us being 1, which is what we usually are, because if there's no M, then essentially this is what happens, right? If there's no M, this is what happens, and 1 is actually our message. We kind of get left without any message, and that's a problem. So to fix that, it's pretty simple, right? All we'll do is we'll kind of forbid, I guess, what's the best way to say this? We won't allow the user to send M, okay? We'll just make sure that is something that's not allowed to be sent, okay? And I mean, you could work around it, but really how often is that going to happen? It's probably going to be some kind of mistake. If they really want to send it, I guess you could maybe do it halfway through. But the reason is that because we're using it to kind of delimit it, there's no real way to solve this that will actually work, okay? So what we want to do, well, actually, you know what? I don't want to say it that way because there is. Let's actually, okay, let's go back into our client window. And then what we'll do over here is, instead of saying in the M stuff, so let's go over here. Yeah, there's probably a better way to fix this than what I'm thinking right now. This is going to be some improvisation here. Instead of splitting this by /m, we'll make sure it starts with M, right? And it always will. We'll get rid of this and we'll only split it by E. But what we'll do is we'll also go ahead and do, first of all, message dot, I think there's a, let's see, substring, right? And I think the begin index, Add the specified index and extent. Okay. So we'll grab that and we'll just put 3 here. Okay. And then we'll put a dot message split. Okay. So, oh, maybe that's not working. Hang on a minute. Let me just see. Okay. So we'll get rid of message. Okay, so we get the substring of it and then we split it. Okay. So at index 3, we have, of course, if we preview this, we've got index 0, index 1, index 2, and then index 3. So I think it'll keep that in there. We'll test it out in a minute, but this should now work. Okay. So if we go back to our server, I don't think we're running that. No, we're not. We launch that beast. We launch login. We type in Cherno localhost. Oops. Make sure you spell that right. 8192. Login. If we try and send something like, let's try and send something like hey. Okay, that crashes. Why does that crash? Array index out of bounds. Oh, yeah. Okay. So this now needs to be 0. And just for some safety here, let's do this. Okay, so let's run that again. We don't need to do anything with the server here. Server is still running. Cherno, localhost 8192, login. We will say, hey. Okay, yeah, that works perfectly. So if we now go /m/, hey, bro, I totally schooled your system. Hope you guys can see that. So yeah, we do that. We prefix it with a /m. We send it. You can see it still appears here and everything did not break our system. So yeah, that message.substring is pretty much how we can avoid that entire kind of debate on how to do that. So anyway, that's going to wrap up this episode of Network Chat Programming. Hope you guys did enjoy it. If you did, please hit the like button. And next time we're going to take a look at, I guess, clients disconnecting kind of abnormally, right? So if the client disconnects and he kind of shouldn't have, or he didn't do it cleanly, he didn't press the exit button, the client was terminated for some reason, then the server needs to also deal with that kind of thing. So I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.